Hi, everyone. Welcome to this youth skills building session. My name is Liz Hall, and I'm the Communications Associate at WIHER. I'm really thrilled to have you here today to talk about the importance of communication skills in your job and your career. And as you may have guessed, we'll be focusing on writing skills. Those are near and dear to my heart because not only because it's my job, but I've always enjoyed writing. So let me kick this off with a little bit about myself. So a little bit about me. I've been a storyteller since I've been a kid. And sorry about that slide. And I've always enjoyed telling stories. I would love to tell them to other people. I like to write them down. And as I grew older, that translated it into telling other people's stories as well and helping other people tell their stories. So I got a bachelor's degree in English and writing. I also got a degree in women's studies. And I also later got my graduate degree in humanities and creative writing. And that has helped me throughout my career in many different ways and working in many different industries. And for nearly 2 decades, I have worked in communications, and this has involved writing and editing different pieces, again, for different industries, from white papers and grants documentation to blog posts and newsletters. So I've kind of run the gamut of different writing materials that I have worked on. As a hobby, I love to research and read when I get involved in a new topic. I just kind of go into the rabbit hole of learning about something new. So research and reading go hand in hand, but I think that's definitely informed my love of writing as well, as we'll talk about today. I'm also a firm believer that everyone has a story to share, but what I have found over the last 2 decades is that not everybody knows how to tell their story, or they're not sure where to start. So that's something we'll talk about as well. And then one more thing about me is I'm a mom. I have 2 young kids, and they're storytellers too. As you'll see, I think everybody is a storyteller. And again, it's finding a way to talk about your story and finding a way to foster those writing skills so that you can tell your stories effectively. But again, for this particular youth skills building session, I'm mostly going to focus on your job and your career and why those communications are so important to your finding a job, not just your resume and your cover letter, but also continuing in your career and finding leadership positions. So communication skills are important to employers, but they're also important to your own professional development. For the purposes of the skills building session, I want to talk about how they can help, how your writing skills and your communication skills can help you develop professionally, no matter what field or industry you're in, or no matter what area you are an expert in. So again, to talk about the job aspect of this, communication skills are often considered to be soft skills or core skills because they're applicable to any job or industry. You're going to need to know how to communicate, whether you're a scientist or you work in public health or you're a teacher. Of course, if you're a teacher, I'd hope you know how to communicate if you're a teacher. But any industry, you're going to need to know how to communicate with other people. But despite their importance to any industry, year after year, there are reports that students who are graduating from school are lacking in soft skills, including communication skills. And despite that, there's 77% of employers say that communication skills are important to gain leadership positions. And so there's this gap, right? That employers want individuals who can communicate effectively and clearly, but that's not necessarily what is being learned in school. So that's up to us, right, to work on it. So let's go on to the next slide. So why do employers look for good communicators? Lots of different reasons, but here are 3 of them. If you want to stand out in your field, whether you're, again, working in science or public health, finance, or any other field, you need to work on your communication skills. And it's critical that you're able to convey what you mean in order to share the importance of your work. So here are some 3 top reasons why employers want good communicators. 1, strong communication skills foster effective collaboration and increase innovation. 2, communication strategies can help avoid or address conflict. Again, that's both professionally and in personal relationships, right? And lastly, good communication aids in building relationships and partnerships with other people, working with different departments, working with different individuals from different backgrounds. All of that's important. And there are actually 5 different kinds of communication skills. So there's oral, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm talking to you. There's also nonverbal or visual, which is also important. As they say, pictures can tell 1,000 words. And so that's one way of communicating with somebody. Active listening is when you're talking to somebody and If you're trying to think of what you want to say next, that is not active listening. Active listening is completely paying attention to what that individual is saying and how they're saying it. Contextual is the right message is delivered by the right audience to the right audience at the right time. It's using the right channel. So it's very environment and context specific. And then last but not least, of course, is writing. And again, that will be what we're focusing on today. And we'll talk about the importance of writing skills. And it's a very broad topic. There's so much that we can dive into today with this. But I want to talk about how you get started with your writing, ways of fostering those skills, and kind of give you a jumping off point to start working on your writing. And I hope this inspires you too. So, knowing how to write and convey your ideas effectively and clearly can help you in all areas of life. It can help you in school. It can help you in getting a job. And then once you get that job, it can help you advance in your job, in your career. If it can help you stand out with the way you communicate and work with other people. Again, because communicating, including writing, but all of the communication skills that we just talked about on the previous slide, can help you in working with other people. Because if communication is lacking, it's harder to be on the same page as somebody, to come up with ideas and then advance those ideas. Writing and conveying your ideas effectively and clearly can also help you express yourself creatively in different ways. And you can see this in creative writing, but you can also apply this to your job too, about thinking outside of the box and how you want to present a new project, for instance. Do you want to do a PowerPoint, or do you want to get more creative and do something else? And then last but not least, you can also share your ideas with a wider audience. And you see this so much online now, right? People make videos, they do blog posts, they do long form content, short form content, reels. There's so many different ways to share your ideas with a wider audience, but knowing how to convey your ideas is what's really, really important. So here's what you want to know, right? The different ways to learn about writing. And all of these this is just a starting point. I want you to start thinking about different ways of working on your writing, practicing your writing, all of that. Number one, become a reader. Read. And the more you read, the more you are familiar with how things are written. And this can also help you expand your vocabulary. It can help you familiarize yourself with the structure of writing different pieces. So as much as I encourage you to read as much as you can and read all sorts of different things, really, if you want to work on your writing, focus on reading the kinds of things that you personally want to write or to get better at, because that's how you familiarize yourself with the structure of a piece. And then two, I mean, I know this kind of seems obvious, but I want to make this point because sometimes people are so scared to work on their writing because they're like, well, I don't know how to do it. But the more you do something, the easier it gets. So practice and practice some more. And if you don't feel comfortable with sharing your writing right away, I get that. So start with a journal, and that could be for your eyes only, and then write about the things that interest you. And again, I know we're talking about in a professional development way about how you can develop professionally, but also doing writing for yourself helps this process. So that's really, really important. And then the next point is familiarize yourself with how different communication products are structured. And when we talk about communication products, I mean anything that you write. It could be an email, it could be a report, it could be a newsletter, it could be a PowerPoint presentation. So understanding how the different products are structured will help you also in how you frame your ideas and how you get started as well, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then number four, I think this is one of the most important things, and I see this a lot with new writers, is don't stop at the first draft. I know it's tempting, like, I just want to get this done. I'm going to write it. I'm going to be done. That's it. But the first draft is where you put your ideas out there. And the magic often happens in those later drafts, right? So the first draft is get your ideas out, start brainstorming, start piecing it together, and then work on it. And part of this process is trading drafts with somebody you trust. And again, I want to emphasize this. Trade it with someone you trust, that you are open, and that who you are open to their feedback and open to their critique. And I want to make sure that you're looking for somebody who's offering constructive criticism, constructive feedback, because there's a difference. Negative feedback is just like, oh, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. And that's not encouraging. And what I want you to be is encouraged through this writing process. So one, again, find somebody that you trust, and then find somebody who's willing to say what they like about your writing and things that then you could work on. And this is so important to improving your writing process, because the goal, right, is to share your work and to share what you're working on and what your expertise. But if you are not conveying those ideas properly, then the people you're trying to reach won't understand. So by getting feedback, you can see where the gaps are or where you need more details, that sort of thing. And then as a part of this process, you need to practice editing. So that's my next recommendation. Practice editing other people's work as well as your own. So yes, definitely edit your own work. Look through it, read through it, make your own edits. But also, when you trade drafts, say, hey, you read my report, I'll read yours, and then give feedback. And when you do that, you're looking at writing in a different way, and that helps you your brain work differently and think about the structure of writing, think about how the ideas are being conveyed. And that gets you thinking about your own writing in a new way too. So that's really important. And then last but not least, I recommend reading your writing out loud, because when you're just reading it on a screen, for example, or reading, even if you have it printed out, if you're just reading it in your head, you might miss something. But when you read it out loud, you hear, like, is it your voice? Do you sound natural? Is it clear? And so your brain thinks about it in a different way, and that can really help your writing process too. So now let's dive into what's your story. And again, what's your process? Like, how are you starting? And that's kind of what I really want to focus on, is how you're starting, because often that blank page can be so intimidating. And how you get started is the first step, but it's also a big step, because if you don't get started, you can't finish, right? So here are the different ways, and different people work in different ways. And so try one or two of these, see what works for you. If one doesn't work, maybe another one will. For example, creating outlines. Some people love outlines. Some people love to get their ideas out and maybe create different headers. For example, if you were writing about gardening, you could say, how to get started with gardening, what tools you need, what materials you need, what different seeds you might need, how do you plant these seeds, that sort of thing. And you do the different headers, and then you fill in the details. Or the alternative, the opposite of that, is do a reverse outline. Get everything out of your head, put it onto a piece of paper, and then look at it and be like, okay, what are my main points? What are my keywords? And then picking that out and then editing from there. So those are two different ways of doing it. Another way is creating a mind map or a diagram, which is what you can see on this slide. It's, start with your big idea and then start free associating. What do you associate with that main topic? And then that can lead to other ideas, that tangents, and that can help you get started with thinking through how you want to structure things and how you want to write. And then another idea is free writing. And this is just like, okay, you just want to get started. You want to get this first draft out of your head. You have an idea, you sit down, you just start typing, and you just don't stop. Don't let yourself pause. You just keep going until you're done. And it's going to be a mess. And that's why we say first drafts are supposed to be messy. And then later, that's where the magic comes. Like I said before, is that you get the structure later. But if you're really in your head and you're just like, you're having a hard time starting, I really recommend free writing. And that you could be in a journal too, because it's a different act if you're writing by hand versus typing. It triggers something different in the brain. And then the kind of a little bit, not quite opposite of that, but in a different way, to make your brain work in a different way, is write in sprints. So like set a timer, for example, for 20 minutes. As soon as you hit that timer, you start typing. Type for 20 minutes. Don't let yourself stop. The timer goes off, go take a break, take a walk, work on something else, come back and do it again. So it's about like kind of tricking your brain to get started, right? And getting into that routine and finding what works for you. And the last one is kind of different. And this would be really good in like a work environment where you need to work on a project with somebody else. and kind of feed off of each other's ideas. And you can do this in Google Docs. Google Docs is wonderful for this. It's, because you can work in the document simultaneously. You could either assign people different parts of it, or somebody could do the first paragraph, somebody can do the second. I've even done projects with people where somebody writes one sentence, the next person writes another. That's tricky because your voice will sound different, but it's like a different way of thinking about writing and building off of ideas. So again, that's one of the themes that we're talking about here today, right? Is like finding ways of thinking differently to get your ideas out. And that's key to writing. And last but not least, I have this little star next to it because I'm a big proponent of keeping a journal. You will get ideas in very different places, in the shower, which I guess you can't keep a journal there, but or you're out for a walk, or you're out grocery shopping and you get idea for something you want to work on. Have a journal, even if it's on your phone. You could write a note to yourself and then elaborate it on in your journal and work on your ideas in your journal. And that process can help you get started with this, with improving your writing. And so now you're probably like, wait, Liz, I want more writing resources. Where are the resources? Well, these are some of my favorite ones. And I know I've been talking a lot about the first draft and getting started, but that is so key to improving your writing. So once you get kind of towards the end of the process and you want to polish up your writing, that's my first resource that I recommend. That's owl.peru.edu. And this is a site that has a lot about English grammar and punctuation. And I use this quite a bit when I used to tutor college students and high school students. And so if you're looking for how to do something, or if you're not sure how to use an apostrophe or a comma or semicolon, anything like that, you can go to this resource and it explains it all to you with examples. If you're looking for something a little bit more broader, or more specific, I should say too, you can look at Coursera, and they often have some free courses, and there's so many different ones about writing. So if you want to work on creative writing, there's a course for that. If you want to work on sentence structure, there's a course for that. If you want to work more on professional writing or report writing, there's courses for that. Not all of them are free, but some of them are. And then for your grammar and punctuation, use writing assistants. That's not cheating, because it's just helping you. Like Microsoft Word or Grammarly, and both have free options. Microsoft Word, it's like their spell checker, but like it'll like show like a little line under it when something's off. And that's helpful just so that you make sure that you're using the right grammar, because that helps you again convey your ideas clearly and effectively. And then Grammarly also, it's like a basic spell check. The free version is just a basic spell checker, punctuation and grammar. But again, that can really be helpful. So those are tools that you can use to improve your writing. And, honestly, the more you use these assistants, the more you also learn about what the things that you are doing that could be wrong to improve. So that's helpful that way too. And then my last resource is one of my favorites. I read this in school, and it's something I still go back to time and time again. And it's a book called Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. And in there, she talks about the writing process. She gives different writing exercises that you can do to work on your writing. And then you can probably guess what I'm going to say next is she talks about the importance of first drafts and just giving yourself permission to get started and to write terrible first drafts. That's what she says. Give yourself permission to write terrible first drafts. And that is so important, because sometimes we get so stuck in our heads that like we have these ideas, we have these thoughts, and we just need to get started. And reminding yourself that the first draft is not what you're going to share with people is really important to that writing process in improving your writing skills. So if you think you're a bad writer or a terrible writer, which I think nobody is, it's just you're working on your process. Do the first draft, but don't stop there. Like I know I've said that multiple times, but that's what I see time and time again is people think that they're not that great at writing, but really they just need to work on their process and figuring out what their process is to improve their writing. So please check out that book. I really recommend it. So we're wrapping it up. And again, here are a couple key takeaways, which I've just been discussing a little bit already, but communication skills, including writing, especially writing, is critical no matter what job or field you go into. I can't say that enough. You can be an expert in anything. You can be an expert in video games. You could be an expert in gardening. But if you're trying to share what you're working on with other people, if you write it in a way that you can't connect with them, then you're not you're not achieving that goal of connecting with them over your work, right? So communication skills, including writing, are so important, no matter what you're an expert in. And then to improve at your writing, practice, and practice some more. Again, I know I've said it a lot, but I really, really, really mean it. Get those first drafts out of your head. Get them out so that you can work on that magic, and so you can work on those pieces and make them sparkle and shine and connect with other people. And last but not least, and I know this can be hard, but I really encourage it, be open to feedback and constructive criticism. When you are open to feedback and constructive criticism, you're going to get ideas to how to improve your writing. You're going to get ideas on how to connect with people. And when you do that, like I remember one time I was working on a piece and I was so stuck. And I was like, and I was in my head and I shared it with somebody else and they looked at me and they said, well, what if you take this route? And what if you tried this? And it was just like a small idea. And it just sparked something in me and it helped the whole piece. It opened it up. It helped fix what I was stuck at. So I can't stress that enough as well. It's so important. So thank you again so much for joining. I really hope you get something valuable out of this skills building session. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below, or you can reach out to me at my email address, lhall@yher.org. Again, thank you for being here, and I hope to hear from you soon. Bye-bye.